What's going on, guys? Jake Peffer here. Welcome back to Jake's Cinema Room. I am back with another movie review for you. Today I am going to be looking at the remake to the Clive Barker 1987 horror classic Hellraiser. This remake is also titled Hellraiser as well. No creativity there, unfortunately, but the movie itself is quite solid, I would say. This is basically a reimagining of Clive Barker's original story. This one's directed by David Bruckner, and of the Hellraiser series as a whole. The original is fine. It works well enough. It's got a lot of problems, but at the end of the day, it's a great body horror movie, and that's its biggest selling point, is those effects on the body horror images are really great. And the Cenobites themselves, even though in the original they're not in it a whole lot, but when they do appear, they do add a lot of character to the movie. And Doug Bradley as the original Pinhead is fantastic, just as he is in the other 8 movies that he plays the character in. But once you get past that first movie, the second one's pretty solid too. It kind of goes in tandem with that first one. And I even have a soft spot for the third one. I think the third one's decent, despite a lot of hatred that it gets. But once you go past that third one, the rest of the series is a big step down. And as it goes on, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Thankfully, though, with this new remake, we get back to a lot of what made that first one so good. The storytelling here actually like a bit better than that original. The just overall plot line, I think, works better here. And obviously, you know, being so many years later, we get updated visuals. I think the Cenobites in this movie, all their concepts and the way they're designed look fantastic. I do like Jamie Clayton as the new Pinhead. I think she fills Doug Bradley's shoes very well. I think she is very good in the role, and she definitely stands out. Outside of her, you have the main girl, Riley, who's played by Odessa Azion. She's fantastic in this movie. Without her, this movie would suffer a lot because she is the driving force behind it, I would say. She's giving a really great performance, and her character is one you can really root for. Outside of her, unfortunately, the other characters are not all that likable. The performances the actors are giving are, you know, pretty good for the most part, but nobody else is really that enjoyable or somebody you can get behind. And the Hellraiser series as a whole isn't one where you're really going to find too many characters that you're going to be rooting for, because usually it's a lot of bad people doing bad things. And here it's not really so much in that aspect, but just the other characters that get brought in here, there's not a lot of development to them, so there's really not a whole lot to get behind them for, unfortunately. But Odessa Azion, she's somebody to definitely be on the lookout for. After this performance, I hope she gets cast in some other horror movies. I think she does a great job in this movie. One of the biggest downfalls of this one, unfortunately, is it's just at 2 hours long, and it drags a bit. It definitely does not need to be 2 hours. That original, I think, is right at 90 minutes, or, you know, somewhere in that vein, and it's perfect. It's a great runtime. It gets in, gets out. It doesn't overstay its welcome. This one, even though it's got a lot going on for it, and for the majority of it, I think it works well, it's just, it suffers from a lot of build up in the beginning, and then once we finally get things going about an hour into it, that's when things really get going and really get entertaining. But that first hour is just kind of a slog for most of it. You know, like I said, you're getting introduced to the main character and her friends and a few other people, and that's great. You know, they're trying to build something, but unfortunately, I think it's the weaker part of the movie, where the second half of the movie is great. You're getting a lot more action, a lot more gore, and a lot more of the horror elements that the movie has to offer. But yeah, I would say this is definitely one of the better horror remakes out there. You know, when they had originally announced it, I wasn't exactly sure how this was going to be. And like I said, I'm not the biggest Hellraiser fan to begin with, so I wasn't really sure how I was going to feel about this. But this is without question the best movie in the series since the original, and I might even say myself that I actually like it a bit more than that original one, just because you have a much more likable character here than the girl in the first movie, who's kind of not even really your main protagonist until like halfway into the movie. But here you get great gore, you get a lot of great horror elements. I like the story structure more, despite it, like I said, starting off a bit slow and being a little overly long. I think everything else for it works pretty well. And I would say if you are a fan of the Hellraiser series or just horror movies in general, I think you're going to have a really good time with this one. And once it hits Hulu on October 7th, you definitely are going to want to check it out. Overall, I would give the new Hellraiser a 7 out of 10. It's solid enough, it's entertaining, and it's going to be a good one to add to your Halloween lineup for years to come. That's about it for me, guys. Once you get a chance to check out this movie, let me know what you thought about it. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more reviews in the future. I'll leave all my links in the description below on where you can follow me and check out more of my reviews. And until next time, I'll catch you all later.